All right, welcome back to another episode of Global Card Collectors. For me, this one is indeed special because I'm talking to someone from my hometown of Sacramento, California. With us on Global Card Collectors today is Jay. Many of you know him. If you're on Instagram, you should be following him. Many of us are at Mojo Sports LLC. Welcome to the show, Jay. How you doing today?
Hey man, thank you so much, bro. Glad to be here with another Sacramento and Jesuit High School alumni. It's amazing.
Yeah, when I saw your handle, I was like, I know exactly what that means, our chant.
Yeah.
So yeah, same high school, go Marauders. So great to connect. I actually discovered Jay on the now defunct Lucas Tigers and Bronze podcast. I'm kind of new in the hobby, maybe like 6 months in, and today's guest is Jay, Mojo Sports, and he goes to my high school. So that was a really cool early connection, and I've been following you ever since. Jay, I describe as I don't know. I'll let him describe himself. I think. How would you describe yourself? But you're all over the hobby. What are you doing?
Man, dude, I would just say like overall just like a passionate collector, cheerleader for the hobby, ambassador. Like I just love the hobby, man. And I think like we obviously make content, so I'm a YouTuber. And like I just put on for the hobby. And I think that's like the best thing I get to do, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, you've done a fair amount of filming in your past. I mean, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about that before the stream, like traveling all over the United States of America to essentially listen and share my own experiences about sports cards and trading cards and seeing like people from all wakes and walks of life from America to Japan to Mexico to Cuba, London. Um, it's crazy to see how much this hobby is like grown, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you really have like surveyed the globe a bit with your travels. I mean, all the countries you named. Um, I want to get into that a bit later. But first, I just want to introduce you as a collector. I of course know, but that you are a Boogie Cousins, DeMarcus Cousins collector. And so how did you come to that fandom? I guess and maybe start us off telling too like how you got into cards. When did that start, I guess?
Yeah, I mean the quick version, like basically, like man, my mom took me to Target in 2011, and there was this high school prospect named Bryce Harper at the time, which he's really good now. But I as a high school kid, like I went to Jesuit, I played football, and like I wanted to collect cards, and nobody wanted to collect cards during that time, and I was actually like bullied for it a little bit at Jesuit, which is kind of rough, but. I stuck to what I loved, and the fact is my mom took me to Target and I opened a 2011 Bowman and I pulled a Bryce Harper rookie. And I don't know, man, I just fell in love with the hobby. And then fast forward to like collecting DeMarcus Cousins, Sacramento Kings. I used to go to all the Sacramento Kings games. We were the worst team in the league for, a long time. And I just liked watching DeMarcus at Kentucky, and I just thought he was really cool. And I thought like the Kentucky team had swagger. John Wall had, that phase, do the John Wall. Everyone wanted to be like those guys. And I just thought DeMarcus was cool. And I thought like he had a lot of like, pressure on him. And I had a lot of pressure on me in high school. And I just think like that's a big testament to who I collect. Like even Aaron Rodgers, like just guys that like I got to know. I think we're very similar in our own way. But yeah, I just started collecting DeMarcus, and then I got to meet him, and like the fact is the Kings were terrible, and I would wait for DeMarcus, and I would like make like a sign or whatever, and he would pull his car over after losing by 40 points and sign an autograph for me while I'm wearing a Jesuit high school sweatshirt or a Kentucky sweatshirt, and he would always ask me, he's like, "Yo, man, like where are your parents?" And I was like, "Oh, that's my mom right there. She's gonna honk. Just get ready." And my mom would honk the horn, and it would be after the Kings lost, and DeMarcus would like wave to my mom, and he would, if I was like the only one out there, he would sign something for me. And then like it was cool. I was like, man, this guy's super nice to me. I'm 14 years old, and this NBA player is stopping and signing autographs for me. And then he had cards, and Panini had taken over after Upper Deck. 2009 Panini takes over, and they had a ton of cards, and he had rookie cards, and I thought he was a fun player to collect. His autographs, RPAs were like $20, which was kind of expensive for me because I wasn't doing anything. But then I got into like buying LeBron James, and that was like you could buy a Kobe auto for $80, and LeBron freaking Upper Deck autos for $200, and I was flipping LeBron during the NBA Finals when they beat Kevin Durant. And like that helped me build my DeMarcus collection is what I'm getting at. Anyway, the personal connection to DeMarcus and that really made me appreciate him. And like I said, in high school, my friends didn't understand this at all. They were like, "What the heck are cards? Like, why are you doing this?" And like, looking back, I get it. Like, it wasn't as popular, and now like everybody's collecting. It's grown so much. But yeah, DeMarcus, Sacramento Kings, and then for me, baseball players. I've been hanging out with baseball players this last year, and I love like these baseball players. They're so into the hobby now, so I've been wanting to collect them more.
Yeah, you have a an uncanny, and I know people have asked you like, what's your trick or whatever, but I think it's just some genuine connection you make, but you're kind of underplaying how much you know these guys like Aaron Rodgers, like, you see him every year in Tahoe when he comes for that golf tournament, I know. But they're
Yeah.
drawn to you somehow. So, sports must, I don't know, you must vibe well in the sports world or something like that, right?
I think it is like you know what, I was just talking about this with my buddy because like man, I've been making these connections with a lot of baseball players this year, and like in my mind, it's like I just think like, and even UCLA, I just went to UCLA's last home game, and my boy was the quarterback. Quarterback won. I mean, and I got to see him after the game and just chat with him. And my connection with him was I knew he was a golf fan, so I gifted him a Tiger Woods rookie, and he still never forgot that. That was like 2 years ago, and like in his mind, and then he became QB1, of course, but. It's just like I think I knew like these cards could be like the draw, or like I could tell a player like it wasn't just like, hey, you had 30 points that game. It was like, yo, dude, like here's what's going on like in my life, or here, here's something I related to in your post game interview. And I think like players like I don't know, I just like I guess you're right. Like I have been able to make connections with players, and I think like they see that.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it earlier with DeMarcus, just kind of maybe why you liked him is because he had faced challenges. You said that was kind of like personally connecting for you, and I remember him too. Of course, I mean, Kings are my team, like number one for sure. Every Sacramentan, we that's our team, right? But he was kind of like the press wasn't very good for him, and he definitely was. It was a tough time, and we were terrible, as you said, man. 16 years no playoffs, like right in the middle of it. I mean, the most like frustrating year to me was that year when we had Rudy Gay. We started with Mike Malone. We started off like 12-5 maybe, and then
December. I remember that.
yeah, and then we fire Malone because Boogie gets meningitis or something, like, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, he definitely
I
had a
remember that. I remember that very
yeah,
well though. That was tough. And I remember going to all those games, and I remember like DeMarcus was in such like good spirits, and then it just all went downhill. And then like now we've made the playoffs and we've gotten that spark off, so it's good.
totally. Yeah, very very thankful for these days. So in terms of Boogie, what like you have a top three cards of his that you like PC?
Yeah, I mean, man, I've gotten him to sign so much stuff, so it was always about like he gave me his game used jersey after you remember when the Kings were leaving? They were supposed to leave. They were
Yeah.
supposed to leave and go to Seattle.
Yep.
Anyway, I made a negotiation with DeMarcus. I talked to him before the game. I talked to him like a week before this last game versus the Clippers, April 17th, 2013. I like this story better than just telling you I have a logo man card.
Yeah.
So DeMarcus pulls over. I'm like, yo, man, it's my senior year of high school. The Kings might be leaving. Is there any way I could get your last jersey that you wear as a King, and whether we leave or not? And he looked at me. He's like, yeah, I got you, but he's like, I want to let you know, like, we're not leaving. And he's like, but I got you. Last game of the season, I have this sign. It says, can your number one fan get your game used jersey? My senior year of high school, it's kind of like, boom, I'm done with Sacramento. I'm going to go to Marquette. I got a scholarship. And I buy the cheapest seats because the seats were so expensive, my mom and I. And I told my mom, I'm like, all right, I know the usher at section 120. I'm gonna bolt down there. And I go with 2 minutes left. I bolt down there and it's packed in the tunnel. So I have the sign, and there's like a photo of DeMarcus kind of looking in the crowd. I've always tried to find the photo of him looking at me, but he looked for me. He shook Chris Paul's hand, which was rare, came over, and then I had the sign, and then all these people were like putting their hands out, and I looked at him like, please don't throw the jersey. So he comes up near the tunnel, like you remember how small that arena was.
Yeah.
Comes up near the tunnel, takes the jersey off. Everyone's like freaking out, and he just like puts the jersey in my chest. And then I got that jersey. And I mean, it was like that was peak for me. That was like the coolest thing. I mean, I've traded players for game used bats, and that's cool. Like this last year at Fenway, that was unbelievable. But with Josh Young, but this was like the PC Grail. Like this is the whole logo, man. And I did something. I'm not proud of this, but after the game, everyone's waiting at the Kings parking lot, and I told him I was like, "Yo, man, I need to get this signed." And I was like, when can I come by?" And he's like, "If you can make it here at 10 in the morning." But he's like, "Don't skip school." And I skipped school, which I've never done, and this is so bad. And so
Kids don't
I never
skip
missed a
school.
day of school, but I skipped school. I got in trouble from Dean Kelly and Dean Warren. I
Yep.
shouldn't even say this, but whatever.
No.
So
Stay
I
high.
lied about that. I skipped school and I go to the Kings Arena. I get there at 10. I get yelled at by security with my best friend from high school. Keep in mind, I was supposed to be in ninth period and we had liturgy that day. DeMarcus comes out. And by the way, I had to fan the jersey. I spent 4 hours in the middle of the night fanning the jersey so it would dry. Long story short, practice facility, he comes out, he says, "Yo, get over here." Comes over, signs a jersey, puts the date on it, everything. And then I told him, I was like, "All right, man, I'm going to college. I will see you when I come back for Christmas break." And then, like, that was it. And then he followed me on Instagram and, like, we just stayed in touch. But it was kind of like for me, that was the send off. And, like, that's not a logo man card. It's not like, the Grail card, but it's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Grail
yeah.
piece. And it was like my final Sacramento thing, his final Sacramento thing, and then the Kings ended up not leaving, you know. But that story will always be with me. That was the craziest momentum. Like I am such into the chase. Like I love those type of stories.
I mean, definitely gives me a bit of goosebumps, that story. That's cool. I'm sure
It
anyone
was the
listening would,
grail, you know. You
it
like
would, it
it's
would
like
be
I'm
like,
sure you feel that with
yeah.
cards, if you get your grail card or you meet someone that like, just has an impact on you, or someone hands you a PC gift at a show and you're like, ooh, whoa, whoa. Like someone handed me a one of one in Toronto and I was like, whoa, you know. There are moments of gratitude.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. So you're based in LA now. Um, you've been there for about a year.
Yeah, about a year.
So before that, you were based in Sacramento and traveling a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I was living in my parents' house and I basically told my dad, I was like, "I'm gonna give you a rent check, but I'm not gonna be here most of the year. I'm gonna go travel. I'm gonna chase my dreams." And like actually it wasn't really chase my dreams. It was like, "Yo, I got a job to do, Dad. I'm gonna go to these shops. I'm gonna go travel around the country. I want to meet these people who are into this hobby that nobody's heard their story. I'm gonna give you a rent check. I'm gonna drop it off, but like I'm gonna be gone 3 to 6 weeks at a time, or a week at a time." And like, people would call me. It was crazy because like I lost touch with a lot of people because like as the channel got bigger, like my small circle started to like, I don't know, just like people were like, "Holy crap, like what are you doing now?" And like I remember answering the phone sometimes and I didn't even remember where I was because I would be in New York or I'd be in Kentucky or I'd be in different places. So I just was like living out of a suitcase for like a couple of years.
Good time. You enjoy
No
it?
regrets, man.
Yeah.
26, are you kidding me? From ages 25 to 29, I was traveling the world. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. No,
It's not bad.
I mean,
Now I'm 30. I'm old.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, my best years are the travel years in the 20s. I lived in Senegal for 2 years with the Peace
Wow.
Corps, and that was, you know, that was you just learn so much about yourself traveling, I think.
I think so too. 100%. What are you talking about that? And
Um,
like you just wait, so I have a question for you real quick. So you didn't start collecting for a while?
I mean, I'm classic like late 80s, 90s junk wax era kid, and then left, and then came back in COVID.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. Um, So, yeah, so your travels, I mean, one summer you went all over the States basically, right?
Yeah, I mean we did a tour. I mean, I did like a legit like Midwest card shop tour. We started in June. I mean, it's crazy to think we pulled this off. We started in Chicago, rented a car, and then ended up back in Chicago at the National. It was like crossing the finish line. And like a lot of people in the hobby think like they want to do that, but nobody ever executed. And like I heard it for a while. I would listen to people at shows like, I'm gonna get an RV and I'm gonna do this. And I'm like, I kept hearing it. And I remember AG, my friend, she was pushing me. She's like, do this. Like, I think it would be huge and I think it'd be great for your brand. And shout out to her because she pushed me to do that and the tour, and she organized this whole tour. And she went on to work at Fanatics, she's crushing it. But this tour set up a very like just something different, something that would like build momentum into the national. And I thought it was very successful going in America and just going to these card shops.
Yeah, I don't know, what were some of the, I don't know, what was the one big thing you kind of took away from the trip? I mean, it's hard to generalize, of course, but I don't know. How did it make you feel? Like, how
Hmm.
is it
I think
different?
it
I don't
I
know.
think for me it was like it was the fact that like there were collectors that like we didn't even like we were covering a lot of California and like a lot of New York and like Florida and like Kentucky. But there was like people in Indiana, there was people in like in the middle of like Illinois. Like we met this couple that lives above the card shop. They have their home, they have a beautiful 4 bedroom home above the card shop. They live, breathe, and sleep cards. And that's kind of like crazy to me. And I don't know. I saw people like that, and I was like, man, there are just some like ride or die. Like I'm gonna like. It's almost like if you stayed in Sacramento. You just stay in Sacramento. And you just build your life in Sacramento. And I don't know. It was like cool to see that. There's small towns.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I
100%.
think that was a big. I think that was a big eye opener. Was that there were like some great stories in the Midwest that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah, I enjoyed following you on that. And then was it the following summer that you traveled abroad a lot? I saw you were in London,
Yeah,
Japan.
honestly this year we went to London, we went to Japan. I've gone to Canada. I go to Canada twice a year, which is
Hmm.
so fun. But yeah, London and Japan were amazing. Definitely learned a lot from both those trips. Japan specifically, we had talked about that. The hobby is just not as big in these other countries, and it's like it almost makes me take it for granted in America, because it's so popular and it's everywhere and it's so accessible. But I was talking to you and you said in Turkey they don't have card shops, but you guys just had your first show. And I don't know, for me, it makes me want to go there. Like I want to see that. I want to like build and try to market it and like see how we can like grow it.
I mean, as we say in Turkish, hoş geldin is meaning just you're welcome, man. Come. You're
Yeah.
welcome. Because yeah, we need, we need to be pushed. I mean, it's, I don't know. I've heard in Germany, for instance, they started their first show with like 30 tables, and then I think it was like 300 a year or two later. So this show is good momentum, and maybe in the spring we can have another one and just kind of, push it going because there is interest here. I mean, there's one company I was telling you, called Mythos, that does cards of the Turkish soccer league, and they organize. They get some tops products, and they're like 2,000 people on their Discord. So I mean, there's interest. And Turks, I can tell you, like, you know, they could be prone to it. They can get into it. They love their sports, like their heroes and stuff like that. So yeah, please come. We
I
need your help.
know, I know, I got it. We're planning the good thing is there's no card shows in December for us, so we're taking 30 days off and we've been brainstorming for 2025, which is great.
Okay. Yeah, maybe fall of 2025, maybe we'll be kind of
That'd
ready
be
for you.
sick. Yeah, that'd
We'll
be
try to
so sick.
work on that. Uh, how did you find kind of the collector, environment in like Japan, I guess, or Europe? Could you generalize about, what kind of collectors they were, like maybe differences that you saw?
Yeah, I mean, I just once again I'll go to it and I'll say like I think like in these other countries like collecting is like a hobby. It's like a luxury. Like it's like a luxury to collect there. It's like I don't know. I just think like they're more like we talked about it when I was in like Mexico. It was more about the Panini sticker soccer
Hmm.
stuff, and like even in London, it was more about the soccer cards and the love for the club. I went to Crystal Palace, Manchester United. I'd never been to a soccer game like that in my life, and I don't know. Those fans were very passionate. It made me think like, man. And then like when we got to the card show, the London card show, it was just like just really supported their club. Like if they really liked AC Milan, they were supporting them and like they wanted all those cards. Versus here, it's like I've tried my best in this hobby to push people to find that PC. Like find a DeMarcus, find a Sacramento King, find a, a player. Like even for me, he's my favorite player. Like I want to go to Italy and watch him play. Like there's something there. Like I want to build like my PCs. Like, and I think like that's something I noticed in these countries. And then in Japan, TCG, like I just think a lot of these like play and a lot of places didn't want us to film, which I get as a respect thing in Japan, but we kind of like worked our way into it and like talked to them and explained what we were doing. It took a couple translations to figure out how to communicate how we could film in Japan.
Yeah.
But what I learned in Japan was like, once again, the hobby just like it wasn't like people were pouring out for like cards. Like they don't necessarily want an Otani card. They want an Otani jersey, or they want an Otani like they want an Otani food dish. They want an Otani milkshake. Like it wasn't like I want to open a box of tops. And I told you this. I think I would be better off in another country to build the hobby. Like if some company paid me to travel the world to do this and market the hobby, I probably would take up on it because I think I can convert a non-sports fan to a collector very fast. And I think the thing we do well on our channel, and it's a part of like talking about the travels, is we showed people like what it's like to have a good time collecting. Like this hobby should make like it should be an add-on to your life. It shouldn't be like pressure. It should be, and I think that's what we saw in these countries was like it was an add-on to people's life. Like people were smiling and happy and just talking about like what they love about the hobby. And I kind of felt like Anthony Bourdain-ish a little bit, like going to these places
Yeah.
because I was like trying like I feel like that's what we do. And like I know he had the sad story and obviously, he ended up, taking his life. It's not like I don't relate to that side of it, but more just like the guy was very inquisitive, trying to, globally expand stories. And like I ended up reading his book and watching some of his like stuff. And like I think he was like a drug addict too. And like there was something there, but I'm getting into a tangent. What I'm getting at is he
I love
kind of
it.
like I kind of like got inspired by that to go to these other like thinking about these other places too. And once again, AG pushed me to go outside of the country, which was very good for me because now I really want to go more outside the country. And my dad's from Iran. Like my dad is from Iran, like a village in Iran. Like it's not like, oh, we were born in America and like, it's just not. That's not my story. That's not his story and that's not the way I was raised.
Yeah, I mean he must have come over in what, the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, he almost like had to go to like the war and like my grandpa like sent him over. My dad was the only one to make it from his family of five sisters and like two brothers.
Wow.
So it's like it's crazy.
Wow.
It's a miracle, honestly. It like makes me like, we see these cards and it's like, there's other things going on. That's why this is such a luxury. It's a hobby, and that's what we saw overseas.
Yeah, I mean, if you were young and of fighting age in Iran, you were kind of effed at that time.
My uncle's messed up, man.
Yeah. They just threw bodies. They didn't care. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, you want to get abroad more. You were inspired by Bourdain, and your own experience, I guess, your background. I mean, I'm all for you. Become an international ambassador. Whoever's listening out there,
I
we'll
know,
welcome
right?
you here, as we said already. How's the hobby these days? Kind of want to finish on that kind of discussion. Like, how do you see the market or the interest level? Um, how's it feel in America too? I'm just kind of curious on that level.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I think like the hobbies, during this time, the hobby obviously slows down, but I don't know. And like people don't like this, but I think like Tops and Fanatics, for what it's worth, like they've put a lot of money and dollars into marketing this hobby, which I mean, I'm just saying, like, Upper Deck and Panini, like, they definitely had their cover athletes, but I think Tops and Fanatics are giving people like I don't know, like a lot to talk about. They're giving people a lot. They just announced John Elway, some John Elway commercial with Larry David from Seinfeld. And I don't know, people are like kind of like reacting to it, like funny, and some people are like, eh. But like we're seeing like I think we're seeing growth in the hobby. Like Fanatics and Tops is focused on the non-collector, the sports fan, and
Hmm.
look, to me, I think that's great. And I think the hobby's in a great place. Like from that side of it, and then from a collector side of it in the community, like, dude, I mean, singles are down, like wax is down. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like it's crazy. But at the same time, I think no matter what, like the hobby is bulletproof. Like you and I, if we're into this for the, I mean, you look at what happened with you. You started in the 80s and 90s, and then all of a sudden you're like, during COVID, I'm gonna pick it back up. Now we're in another like boom, but I think it's just so big now with social media. And I think this is like more of a sneaker transition. It's like I think people are just collecting to have fun. I mean, I think people should collect to have fun. I don't think there's enough of that actually. And like, I'll
Right.
always push for that. As much as we do all these $10,000 deals, like that's not my favorite part. My favorite part is to buy and sell and collect like stuff I enjoy and trade, you know?
Hmm.
So I think the hobby's in a healthy place. I think it's a lot more, it's getting more affordable, which is, I mean, I mean, how could you complain if you could get a freaking Kobe autograph for like, if we can get a Kobe for under 1,000 one day, like I'm not complaining.
Yeah, I'm here for
Like
it.
the prices are getting cheaper. Like it's not a joke. Like it's good.
Right.
And I think as a consumer and as a collector, that's like not a bad thing. I think like if you're one of the card shops or maybe like one of the corporate, like it might affect you. But for us, I think we can like at the end of the day, like we are winning.
I'm with you. I mean, I think collectors are growing. I think uh, I can speak. I feel like I'm a like a generation or something in the hobby, you know. Together collectively, we got back in. We probably were chasing like base PSA 10s and stuff initially. Like, so I've heard that story so many times, right? But then you hear them, you know, kind of finding their collector niche in their lane and just enjoying it instead of all that. So I think it's a more mature hobby, obviously, than when I first got in. I definitely describe it that way. And I share the optimism. I'm certainly rooting for tops and fanatics. And I don't really come to here like complaining, like this is a hobby, as you said. Like I just want like good vibes and to enjoy myself and people to be happy, you know, like so I think that's the majority kind of. I don't know, maybe I'm optimistic, but glad to hear it. You see that. In kind of closing, what's your favorite kind of thing about the hobby, would you say? I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of things you're thankful for about it, but what do you kind of love most about, I mean, really, it's obviously it's your profession and your métier, your work. So I don't know.
Yeah, man, I think it'll always get back to community for me. I just think the idea of like going somewhere and being welcomed and like you like even you like you're welcoming me to Turkey, like you offered me a place to stay. Like I think like the cards are the vehicle that bring us together and then like dude, look what happened. Like if you come to LA, like I'll take you around. Like I think that's the best part is these relationships you build inside this hobby and then they go outside the hobby. And I think that's the best part about this is like we all love this thing more than like most people and we're so passionate, but that passion comes together and like I think it's priceless, man. I think if you're out there watching this, like make an Instagram for cards, not for like don't miss out on this opportunity to connect with people that love it. And I've actually been like, when I meet people that are watching my channel, I ask them, do you have an Instagram for cards? And if they do, I follow them. And if they don't, I get them to make one in front of me because
Go
it's
online.
important, and like then they get motivated and you share your collection and you meet people along the way that
Totally.
will be a part of your life. And I think that's something that people don't talk about enough. Like that's the best part of this entire thing.
Agree. I mean, I mean, Instagram and social media get a bad rap, but I think in this hobby, it's amazing. And yeah, I I second that suggestion. Make a card account if you don't have one. I've made friends that, you know, it's not easy to make friends like the later you go in life. And this has helped me make new friends and meet new people, and I love that. So, well, Jay, thank you so much for jumping on with me. You know, as one Marauder, I appreciate it. You're the more famous Marauder in this world we live in, but so thanks for making time for me. And you know, be good. Anything else you want to say before you go?
No, man, I appreciate it, and I hope we can make it out to Turkey. If we make it to Dubai, hopefully, we'll probably stop in Turkey and see what we can do there.
Perfect. Look forward to it, man. Let's do it soon. Take
Yeah,
care.
thank you,
Have
man.
a good rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.